So for this bonus objective, I left my patrons a choice in which Ray Harryhausen movie to review, since I wasn't able to follow up on my original plan to do a certain film, and most of them have voted for The Valley of Gwangi. So that's what we're going to do. Ray Harryhausen was a pivotal figure in the field of stop-motion animation, taking what he learned from his mentor, Willis O'Brien, responsible for the effects in The Lost World and the original King Kong. He produced some groundbreaking movies that pushed what was possible with special effects. He was especially good at producing a variety of creatures, real, extinct, or fantastical, and how they were integrated in a live-action setting was considered the best part of watching his movies. This will be my first time watching a film of his, though something else to note is that this project was originally started by Willis O'Brien himself in 1942, who took inspiration from his earlier works for this cowboys and dinosaurs film plot, but it wouldn't come to pass reportedly due to research saying that the public wouldn't be interested in a dinosaur movie like this. It wasn't until 7 years after O'Brien's death in 1962 that Harryhausen and his producing partner, Charles Schneer, decided to come back together after several years of making films apart and try bringing this project back to life, along with another O'Brien project that never came to be, War Eagles. The latter would not be made, but this one did. And how did it fare? Well, let's find out. This is the Valley of Gwangi. We open in Mexico, where a group of travelers find an acquaintance of theirs that's fatally wounded and only has this to say.
Gwangi.
No. Leave it. He who takes from Gwangi the evil one is cursed.
Only by an old woman's tongue.
I tell you, if he does not go back to the Forbidden Valley, we shall all suffer a terrible fate. My eyes are blind, but I can still see the signs.
Keep your superstitions to yourself, old woman.
Yeah, it's not enough that our friend might have died from some monster that he took something from. Clearly it's all superstition. Gotta love the trippy title sequence with gradient images. Doesn't show too much, yet just enough to know what you're getting into. Also, the music is pretty good. Anyway, we're told that we're now in Rio at the turn of the century, and we're getting a Wild West show with cowboys and Indians. Oh boy! I hope Arliss doesn't show up as an adult to play a racist cowboy. One of the stars of this rodeo is T.J. Breckenridge, played by Gila Golan, but also had her lines redubbed due to her accent. And this is her former lover, Tuck, played by James Franciscus, being pestered by our child character of this movie, Lope.
What about an interpreter?
Don't need an interpreter.
You need a horse, senor.
Now look, boy, I told you I don't need anything. Now get lost, comprende? Adios.
There is no money in that, senor.
You know, you're a real hustler, Chico. I bet your pappy sends you out hustling while he stays home taking an all-day siesta.
Typical white guy to assume everyone wants to hustle him. Though this is a movie, so they're probably going to play off that stereotype. Anyway, the owner of the rodeo exposits about TJ's past and how Tuck wants to join the rodeo just to get her affection. More so, he wants to buy her out, but they don't want him around. But at least he gets to check out the show. Now that effect might stand out a bit because of the film quality, so better to imagine watching this on low quality television or film screens. That would make it less noticeable. Remember, back then there were limitations on what you could do with special effects. People like Harryhausen found workarounds using stop-motion animation to allow more dynamic movement when not using animatronics. But Harryhausen also used a technique he created called dynamation, where the models would be animated over background footage while also having the foreground placed above it. This would allow them to seamlessly integrate the live-action pieces with any models that they have And as we get further in, we see how well they pull it off with the large creatures in store. Anyway, TJ spats with Tuck over how he left her and that he's now trying to buy her back with a deal he made with Buffalo Bill, who is an actual person, by the way, and we at least get a good look at how they act.
Got a deal for you, TJ. Get you off the hook with this broken-down, moth-eaten rodeo. Still got a brain in that pretty head of yours, you'll take it.
Thanks.
Buffalo Bill wants to buy Omar, the Wonder Horse. He's offering a good price.
And you get 10%, right?
20.
Well, you're not getting one thin dime out of me. And Buffalo Bill is not getting Omar.
So of course she rejects his offer, so now Tuck and Lope meet an old man named Professor Bromley, played by Lauren Naismith, who was out in the desert for some reason, and his mule kicked him off. They ride into his camp where they find the mule and learn he's a paleontologist.
My father used to say it is not good to dig up the past.
Let sleeping dogs lie, eh? Oh, we're not going to get very far that way now, are we?
It sort of depends on where you want to get to, doesn't it?
To the bottom of things, of course. What Darwin did with his theory of evolution, I intend to do with my theory of the humanoid.
I wonder if he's had to deal with people who deny the existence of prehistoric creatures and that all these fossils were created on the spot to defy God. Anyway, he found a fossil with a 3-toed foot imprint of an Eohippus, the earliest ancestor of the modern horse, and a bone of whatever human ancestor he's trying to find. But you know how it is with money. He doesn't have much left, so his life's work isn't going far. Going back to the rodeo, Tuck tries talking with TJ, who is still being all, go away, and Lope decides he can outdumb Paco from Herbie Goes Bananas. You almost got killed and got one guy gored. Oh, never mind. This guy, Carlos, knows how to wrangle a bull with his bare arms. Tuck is alright, even if he does take advantage of TJ worrying for him to get a kiss on her. But it's okay because she's back to liking him again. And turns out he left her before because he wasn't ready to be married. Anyway, she's willing to take his deal now because Carlos brought a new attraction to the rodeo, El Diablo. Now get ready, because this is just too adorable. Aw, how could something so small be like a little devil? I do like the idea of having a horse prancing on a horse. So Tuck seems to realize quickly what it is and brings the professor in to see for himself that this is an actual Eohippus. Tuck thinks of fame and fortune, but Bromley wants to know where Carlos found it. But he's reluctant, and yeah, he was the guy who was all snippy about the curse before the start of the movie. Carlos doesn't want to tell them anything because they already ruined his dreams, so it looks like Tuck has to rely on Lope to find the gypsy camp, apologies for the word, and they learn from Tia Zorina about this forbidden valley the horse came from.
From there came the little horse, and until he is returned, a great evil will fall upon us.
Rubbish!
I tell you, unless the little horse is returned, we shall all suffer the curse of hell.
Superstitious claptrap. There's nothing hocus-pocus about that little horse. Don't you realize we've discovered a living specimen of the Eohippus?
Look, we know you're just gonna do what the white men have always done and disregard spiritual warnings, so play along and then backstab them like we know you will. Well, the professor has an idea of his own, which is to have them steal the horse and follow them back to the valley. But that requires getting past Carlos, who just happens to be nearby while breaking in. I feel like I should know who you are. Anyway, they take the little horse and flee just as Tuck arrives, after learning from Lope how the professor needed his help in something. He finds out the horse was taken and tries to pursue them. As for Carlos...
What happened?
He hit me.
Who?
Your friend, Kirby.
What?
I caught him with some of my people stealing El Diablo.
No, a small person knocked you out. Just because you hate Tuck doesn't mean you have to blame him for losing. Well, either way, they have a reason to get out of town as well. So one group is trying to find the ones who took the horse so they can follow them to the Forbidden Valley, and the other is trying to track them down because they think Tuck was responsible, when really it was the professor and Lope's doing. Anyway, the horse thieves let the little one go.
Fly, little one. Fly home to your master.
I hear a mountain lion.
I mean, it seems careless to leave something like that defenseless in a place it doesn't live in. Well, it looks like they found where the Forbidden Valley is at. I wonder why it's called that.
What's that? Quick, the horses! Where's Rosita?
Senor Kirby! Professor, look!
I didn't like that mule anyway. Well, they found the other party's tent. How did they get here before them?
Hey!
Champ, I just caught myself a horse thief!
That was rather noticeable. At least them attempting to recapture El Diablo would have fared better in a time where remasters weren't a thing, so you couldn't tell if it's fake if the colors aren't as bright as normal. And I believe during this one shot, they used a baby goat to play the Eohippus when chased on screen. Either way, TJ's back to hating him because she really thinks he's responsible for this. Well, they chase it into a small opening and it looks like it passes into the valley. They just gotta pull the rocks aside so they can get the horses in. And soon they find themselves in the Forbidden Valley. Really awesome Western track, by the way. So, the valley doesn't seem too different from the usual Western locale, except for the giant freaking pteranodon flying above them! Do none of you have guns? Shoot it! Putting aside the inaccuracies and creature details, as well as how it mimics the one from Ray's previous film, 1 million years BC, I do love how they were able to make it look like this thing was picking up Lope. They used wires to hoist him up high, and then paint over them to give the illusion that he's being picked up by the creature. They'd use a model in some other shots after that, but either way, this moment takes full advantage of your suspension of disbelief given the tension involved. Anyway, Lope is too heavy for this thing to carry for long and it's forced to land. Carlos comes in and through a mix of stop motion and life-sized puppetry, he decides to finish him.
Fatality.
Do you see what I see?
Holy. What's that?
It looks like a plaque ostrich.
Let's get him for the show.
We killed a dinosaur! Maybe we could preserve its corpse for— who cares? Let's get that living one for the show! So, you ready to call it quits? Oh, now you pull out a gun? Where was that when the flying monster attacked? Of course, the stupid cowboy shoots at the thing bigger than the last two things they fought, but as they reunite, we learn its name.
Gwangi.
So this is the titular Gwangi of the movie. Its name literally means lizard in an unspecified Native American language, and it sorta has that T-Rex vibe of imposing size and danger. And the way it first appears was even replicated in other dinosaur films like Jurassic Park. As for what species of dinosaur Gwangi is, some argue it's supposed to be an Allosaurus, given that O'Brien referred to it as one in his original draft of the movie, as well as the one in King Kong. But this was because he couldn't tell the difference between an Allosaurus and a Tyrannosaurus. Ray even made an Allosaurus model for 1 million years BC, and Gwangi looks nothing like that based on the head and limbs. According to Ray, he based Gwangi's design off a Tyrannosaurus painting by Charles R. Knight, much like the Rex from King Kong was based on. However, in an interview featured on the Valley of Gwangi DVD, Ray said, "We sometimes called it an Allosaurus. They're both meat eaters, they're both tyrants, one was just a bit bigger than the other." Whatever the case, there's more to what they had to do to make him work with this cowboy plot. So for now, our heroes run. Brownlee at first doesn't believe them on what's coming until he sees the thing for himself.
Great Scott!
Okay, Doc Brown, so long as you get it. He almost gets eaten, but then a Styracosaurus, our heroes disturbed, shows up and drives Gwangi away. Well, at least I got dinner to go. By the way, the Styracosaurus is actually a remodeled Triceratops from, you guessed it, 1 million years BC. Shows how flexible the models can be. Back with the main group, they clear up that Tuck had nothing to do with the theft, and it was the professor's idea. Meaning Carlos lied because he was a jealous troublemaker. Like it or not, they have to stay together until they can get out. Either way, Tuck's still sour for being treated like the bad guy to TJ. Though to be fair, you are a bit of a sexual harasser given how quick you were to kiss earlier.
Tuck, I've decided I'm going to sell out.
Well, that's great. If we ever get back to Omar.
Not just Omar. The whole show, lock, stock, and barrel.
Don't you see, we could both sell out, buy the place, build it up into a really big ranch, raise a bunch of cattle and horses.
And kids, maybe?
Yeah. I won't know till I give it a try, will I?
Well, that solves that little dilemma. Now when's that Gwangi gonna come back?
I say up there, watch your step. There seems to be a bit of a drop here.
Ah, ha, ha, ha. It's your fault we're in this predicament. Anyway, while getting water, Gwangi reappears. Well, this is exciting. How is Tuck getting out of this one? Well, the gang is gonna try and lasso the thing, of course. Now, according to some sources, this scene was said to have taken the longest to shoot because of what was involved. You have guys on horseback trying to rope what's basically a monster stick on a jeep, and you need the horses to react accordingly, and with all this chaos, it would have taken a couple months to edit this all together. Still, it came out really well in the end, and you're just dying to see what happens next. They almost got him with 4 ropes on him, but uh-oh, the Styracosaurus shows up and attacks the others at camp. Then it decides to fight Gwangi, after the latter bites the ropes off. These old giant creature fights are always exhilarating, only now I'm watching it in one movie. Since I guess they want to keep Gwangi alive, they end up stabbing his opponent just to give him an edge. That's not respecting nature at all. Oops, we started a fire. Now we can't get out this way. Gotta go past Gwangi, and even though it has large meat on the ground, it wants the small fry. And because he had to slow down and look back at the thing, Carlos gets caught, and he dies. Kinda disappointing to say the least. Could have done a bit more to build that up after what they did with him. But I guess not. They go back to the entrance they came in and Gwangi gets caught on the rocks. He causes a rock slide to fall on him, knocking him unconscious. Okay, this just looks really awkward. Even if he was on a hill, it doesn't look right at all. Well, they caught it, and now they're settled with wanting to make it the main attraction, with TJ alongside it.
Where's Carlos?
Oh, guess we're not gonna see the reaction to the news of his death? I'd be worried this thing bites the ropes and breaks the cage, or spooks the horses, but oh, look, it's Tia and the small guy again.
Gwangi has killed Carlos, just as he killed his brother Miguel.
Well, how'd you know that?
In a dream, I saw it. The great jaws snapping the riderless horse. He was doomed. And so will you be doomed, all of you, unless the evil one is set free.
Balderdash, my good woman, balderdash. He's no more evil than an alligator.
I mean, he's right. It's just an animal trying to survive. If anything, taking him out of his environment is going to cause a lot of trouble. But nothing relating to it being evil. Well, she curses them nonetheless. But that's okay. They're famous now and holding a special reveal event.
But it's disgraceful to think of putting this fabulous creature on display in a cheap circus.
We can do what we like with Gwangi. He is our property.
It belongs to us all, to mankind, to scientific research.
Easy, Professor.
You can do your research in the time we give you.
She's got a point. Also, you don't get to argue since you got everyone into this mess to begin with. Anyway, Tuck is upset that TJ wants to go on tour instead of settling down. And after all her talk on how he didn't settle down with her before, now the roles have been reversed. To be honest, their romance arc feels rather downplayed once we got into the valley, and about on par with the romance subplot of the 1976 King Kong movie. Seems fame and fortune corrupt the mind when giant monsters are involved, but they're over it not long after. If only because Lope told her Tuck really loved her. Anyway, Tia gets the small guy to sabotage the show while the audience is enthralled by this animated elephant. He gets partially done.
Captured and brought back alive by Miss T.J. Breckenridge!
And that's the end of him. Oh, it gets better.
Living wonder of the prehistoric era! Get that curtain down! Can you get that curtain down?
Ha ha ha! He's being eaten alive, and the band doesn't know it yet. Naturally, this gets everyone to run as Gwangi breaks out of his cage. Tia, who I guess was going to check on things, gets trampled to death, and Bromley gets crushed by the cage door. More importantly, we get an elephant fighting Gwangi. Now, originally, they wanted to have a real elephant fight Gwangi, though given what they had, it was impossible to match the size of the giant dinosaur. Oh, and apparently some TV stations omit this fight because they claim it depicts animal cruelty. Yeah, not like the 2 times where the humans got animals killed. And geez, how many people were in this arena? You'd think they'd all clear out by this point, even if there was a stampede. Either way, Gwangi is loose, and unlike King Kong, he's got no human to fawn over. He's just angry and confused. Looks like it's up to Tuck and crew to save the day.
The doors! The doors!
Well, that's long enough to get the people inside, and god damn it, Lope, you were safer on your horse. And look, no matter how much you try to deny Gwangi into your church, he's perfectly free to follow the will of God. At this point, the goal is to contain Gwangi while using the building layout to move around. Again, very much like what Jurassic Park would do in trying to outsmart the dinosaurs. Tuck even spears the creature in the back of the head with a flag. Try not to bump into a wall, and then he throws a fire brazier down and sets the whole church on fire. And while not as gut-wrenching as King Kong on top of a building and falling off, what happens with Gwangi is still rather sad. Wide Lope, followed by actor credits. We got everything we needed done, even if it was kinda rushed. Still, while not a perfect movie, it was very enjoyable. Depending on your preference, you might have to wait a while before you get to the valley scenes, since the human scenes can be hit or miss, and are often not as good as the creature stuff. Personally, I thought it was fine at the start, just that the focus on Tuck and TJ dwindles a bit further on, so their arcs go quickly. Plus, they did do well to get you intrigued with wanting to see this valley after seeing the adorable Eohippus. I was kinda expecting a bit more from Gwangi after hinting that there was some curse for taking things out of the valley, when really all it was, it's just nature getting back at them when their back was turned. But I suppose by the end of the day, it was about the concept of cowboys and dinosaurs. Some critics weren't too wowed by it, and even Charles Sneer thought it didn't have the same appeal as their older films. I obviously can't say I agree without seeing the other films, but this one I thought was still fun. It was cool seeing them lassoing Gwangi and him fighting other creatures, and the stop motion work is truly amazing to behold once you start learning how they pull it off. I'd say it's worth watching for the spectacle of the craft. These were state-of-the-art film techniques that enhanced the story without too many compromises. Hopefully at some point I'll see more of them and how they fare with each other, and maybe you'll find them entertaining as well. With that, we wrap up this month of Patreon reviews. I'd like to thank Huey Toonmore for providing ample material, and while late, I should say happy 100th birthday to the late, great Ray Harryhausen. May your work continue to inspire.